What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. So I will be making schedule predictions for every single Power 5 team in college football for this upcoming season. And I'll also do a subsequent conference standings video once I finish every single team in a specific conference, just as a synopsis of all of my running schedule predictions. Those synopsis videos will be coming on later in August as we get closer to the start of the season. Between now and then, I still have a lot of these individual videos to get through. Currently, about halfway through the Pac-12. So let's go ahead and get into the Stanford schedule predictions. So some quick thoughts on the Stanford program as a whole heading into 2022. And this is an intriguing program because it wasn't long ago when they were a legitimate contender in the Pac-12. They were producing NFL-level talent like Andrew Luck and Christian McCaffrey. But in recent years, they've really fallen off. They've had some down years with a lot of struggle. And they do have the inherent disadvantage of being an incredibly demanding academic institution, which really limits their ability to recruit to some extent. But still, a 3-9 season last year is really disappointing. Regardless of whatever external factors you want to focus on, 3-9 at Stanford is not. It's not the standard. It's not what they want. And it's not going to get it done long term. They desperately need to improve along both lines of scrimmage. As last year, they really couldn't run the ball on offense. They couldn't stop the run on defense. And while I do see them improving heading into this year, the out-of-conference schedule really limits what their record can be because it is pretty difficult. So this is certainly going to be an uphill battle to bowl eligibility. Despite the incremental improvements I think that they're going to make, I don't think they're going to be quite where they need to be to make any real pushes in the conference or anything like that. So now let's talk about some opponents who just don't have much of a chance to win, barring some level of catastrophe. And there's only one of those teams for Stanford, and it's Colgate. They get them in week 1, and, as down as Stanford may be, they're going to be fine against Colgate. So the first game we are going to talk about comes in week 2, and it is against the USC Trojans, led by Lincoln Riley, new head coach out there. And USC is an interesting program. They're going to be very high-powered, and they with Caleb Williams running the offense, their offense is going to be able to put up points in bunches. But they do have a lot of question marks on their defense. They have question marks on their line of scrimmage as well. And I think they're going to drop a game somewhere along the schedule that you wouldn't expect them to. I also simultaneously think Stanford is going to get a surprise win somewhere along the schedule that you don't expect them to. And with this one coming in week 2, Stanford is the home team here. USC is certainly a much better team. They're going to be favored here. They should be favored here. But with USC having a new culture, a new head coach, and a lot of question marks, I think early in the season they're going to be a much different team than they'll turn into later in the season. And, I like I said, I think Stanford's going to get an upset somewhere. I think USC's going to drop a game somewhere. This would be a massive upset. I'm going to pick Stanford to win here at home. Again, it's a game that USC is favored in. They will win more times than not, but upsets are going to happen anywhere. So I'm going to pick Stanford to get a big one there in week 2. Then they get a week 3 bye, which is really, really unfortunate because they play just a bunch of games straight after that point. They play 10 straight games. So that's no fun. But anyway, week 4, they go on the road at Washington. Washington is a better team than Stanford at this point. Stanford is good enough to compete in this game. They're not completely outmatched, but it's not one that you would expect them to win. They're on the road there. I know they're coming off a bye week, but I think Washington is going to get the win there. Follow that up with a game at Oregon, and this is the same story, honestly, as the Washington one, but even more skewed for Oregon here. Oregon is the much better team than Stanford. Oregon has much more talent than Stanford. Oregon is also at home here. Now, this is another one where Stanford could maybe compete. And like I said, I think they're going to get an upset somewhere. I've already picked it against USC. I don't see them pulling off multiple big upsets like that this year. I don't think they're quite that good. I'm going to go with Oregon to win that one. Then they host Oregon State, and this is a matchup of really evenly matched teams. If this game was at Oregon State, I would probably side with Oregon State. I think both of these teams are middling in the Pac-12. I think both are going to be hanging in, right around the bowl eligibility range, fighting for that. I'm going to go with Stanford to get the win here, being the home team. I think that's going to help them out. And it's a 50-50 kind of toss-up game, so I'm going to side with them. One that's going to go down to the wire. Could go either way. Still siding with them there, though. Follow that up there, they'll go at Notre Dame, and that's a brutal one, and you're in the middle now of a pretty tough stretch of games, and at Notre Dame, I just don't see them having much hope in that one. Tough road trip against a much, much superior team than them. Maybe they can fight for an upset. I don't think so. I'm not going to predict that. I'm going to go with Notre Dame to win there. Then they get Arizona State at home. This is one where if Stanford really wants to push for a bowl game, this is one they're going to have to win. I don't think they're going to be able to be honest. I think Arizona State is a little bit better than them. And it is one that they could win. It is certainly one that they will be competitive in. But again, I think Arizona State is the better team. And, despite Stanford being at home, I'm going to go with them to get that win. Then they go at UCLA, and this is another just really tough road game. And really, if you look at their schedule, most of the better teams in the conference and even on their out-of-conference schedule, they get on the road too, which is it's absolutely brutal for a team like Stanford that's trying to rebuild to get back to where they once were. Having really tough road games like that is just an unfortunate turn of events for them. So at UCLA here, I think UCLA at this point is a noticeably better team than Stanford. I think they're one of the better teams in the conference. They may be a contender in the conference this year, really. And on the road there against Chip Kelly and them, I just don't see Stanford pulling that one off. Going to go with UCLA in that one. Next game up, they get Washington State at home, and this is another one similar to the Oregon State game. Pretty evenly matched teams. I think it's kind of a toss-up game. Could go either way. And with them getting them at home here, I think that is a huge advantage. If they were at Washington State, it's another one I probably wouldn't expect them to win. With them being the home team, pretty evenly matched rosters, I'm going to go with Stanford to win there. It seems like kind of a must-win situation for them, to be honest, just because they're going to have to do really well in their home games in conference, because if they don't, they're really going to struggle to put together any kind of a strong season. They followed that game up by going at Utah. I think that's about as tough of a game as you can play in the Pac-12 this year. I think Utah's probably the best team in the conference, and getting them on the road there is no easy task. I think Utah probably wins pretty big in that one. After that, they are at Cal, and if they're going to pick up a road win in conference, that is the one that they need to do it in, because Cal is probably the most comparable team to them that they're going to play on the road in the conference, and I do think Cal is better than them, but they're not better than them by a huge margin. This is one that Stanford has a shot in. I'm going to go with Cal to get the win there. I think they're the better team. I think they're at home as well. And so, siding with them, but definitely one that Stanford should look to win. They really need to circle, and if they want to make a bowl game push, that's one that they're almost going to have. And then they round out the year with BYU at home, and it's a really tough out-of-conference game there. Now, luckily, they get them at home, so they don't have to go at BYU, but I think BYU is one of the better teams in the country next year. They play an absolutely brutal schedule themselves, though, so their record may struggle a good bit, but BYU is very good. BYU, if they were in the Pac-12, would be one of the better teams in the Pac-12. I think they're a better team than Stanford across the board. And I think BYU, they show up ready to play every single week. I think BYU is going to win that game there at the end of the season as well. But one that Stanford could potentially win, it's probably more likely that they win that one than they do like a Notre Dame out of conference or something like that. But still a very tough out of conference game. Going to go with BYU there. So that would make Stanford 4-8 on the season, which seems like a really disappointing season for a program that has had some success in recent years, but in the last couple they have just been struggling. And while I feel like this year is going to be just a step in that right direction, I don't think they're going to be good enough to fully return to form just yet. They also draw BYU and Notre Dame in their out-of-conference slate. Notre Dame on the road as well, which to me is what prevents them from making a bowl game, because even with an upset over USC that I have given them, that still only gets them to 4 wins, which is pretty brutal because, like I said, the out-of-conference schedule is just that difficult, and I don't think they're quite ready to take on multiple top 25 level teams this year, and that's what they're going to have with Notre Dame and BYU and Utah, USC, Oregon, UCLA. There's a lot of teams there that are going to be very good, and I just don't think they're ready to take on that many of them and come out on top. And really, even if you look at their conference schedule, like I said, they get almost all of their tough games on the road. The only, top-level team in the conference they get at home is USC, and I'm giving them a big upset there. The other ones, Washington's on the road, Oregon's on the road, UCLA's on the road, Utah's on the road. it's a brutal stretch, and then they also don't get Arizona or Colorado, which are probably your two other worst teams in the conference. So the schedule is pretty just brutal for Stanford there. So with all that being said, despite some improvements that I think they're going to have, I think they're only going to be able to get to maybe 4 or 5 wins just because the schedule is absolutely brutal for them. Anyway, though, that'll do it for this one. Let me know down below in the comment section where you guys agree with me and or disagree with me on the Stanford schedule in 2022. Tell me what record you think they're going to have next year and who, if anyone, they're going to lose to. Also, if you made it this far in the video, be sure to go ahead and leave a like because it does help out the channel tremendously, lets me know you're enjoying this kind of content. And subscribe for more college football content in the future. I have done breakdowns on the entirety of the SEC, the ACC, the Big 12. I'm a little bit over halfway through the Pac-12 at this point, and then I'm going to be moving straight on to the Big 10 from there. So a lot of content already out if you want to check that out. A lot of content coming your way soon, so be on the lookout for that stuff. Thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you guys next time.